We're here with Mark Van Buren, and in a second he could introduce himself. But I met Mark recently. He's an author, uh, Zen teacher, or meditation teacher, or uh, and he's also a regular guy, which is what is so endearing to him. At least I think so. So that's why we're here. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you're up to these days.
Sure. So basically, I'm a meditation and mindfulness teacher. I'm a yoga instructor. I've done personal training and things, in the health and wellness field for a long time. But my main thing has been meditation and mindfulness over the past 12 years. I've studied pretty intensely Chan Buddhism, which is the Chinese version of Zen. So basically, Buddhism went from India to China and mixed with the Taoist philosophy and religion, and that's where Chan came from. And then it moved to Japan and became Zen, which is what more people are commonly, they've heard that word before. So spent many days on retreat, silent retreats, many hours in meditation over the past, dozen years or so. And really just trying to share the practice and, share the message to as many people as I can. And I'm really happy I met you and you have this feed, and, hopefully we can, have a weekly little gathering where we can, almost like an online sangha where we can meet and bring up some good topics and how to mindfully approach things like, for example, the coronavirus, being quarantined, the fears and the frustrations and anxiety that's revolving around this situation. So I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. So, okay, so that's your background. And what's your day job? But you don't have a day job. What's your night job?
Well, I work for Frito-Lay. Right now, I'm a delivery specialist. So basically, I get up really early and I drive a truck to stores and deliver the chips. People need the chips, apparently. In this day and age, in this corona world, it's an essential business, apparently. So I'm out and about, during the early morning hours, and then I'm home doing meditation stuff like this until I can get back to my weekly classes.
What you mentioned before about what's essential this day and age. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was surprised he's going to work, even though most of the people in his office, he's in the financial services industry. And where we are, we're here in Teaneck, which is kind of ground zero, and you're not far. How far are you from here, Mark?
20 minutes,
20 minutes.
now 15 or 10 without all the traffic.
So when this is the real thing, I'll make sure that all these buzzers and things are turned off. But, you know, everything's the real thing, because what was that you said the other day, that this is it, or there's nothing else, right?
Yeah, that's the main point of all of this. And I know it sounds so cheesy and almost surface levelly, but there's a real depth to those three words that if you can understand that, you can really, take hold of the situation and find some ease and realize everything's workable and that there is no other place. That might sound depressing. I remember saying it in front of a yoga class, and one lady in the back goes, like, it's like we're so quick to dismiss this moment, maybe because it's unpleasant or it's not exactly, as we want it to be. But this is what we have, and these are the ingredients, and there are enough ingredients to cultivate compassion and to have ease and to live a little more wisely in relationship to it.
Wow. Yeah. So, what's that cliche? There's no dress rehearsals. So this is a dress rehearsal, but it's not really a dress rehearsal.
Because this is it. This is
it. This is it. And it's a perpetual, can I curse? It's a perpetual bleeping dress rehearsal, and you go so many times around the planet, and you think you have your part down, and you think you're ready. This is, I'm ready for my, 20 minutes of fame, or I got it now, and then Corona happens, or
Right.
then you trip while you're walking, or then you burn your hand on the stove, and it's all, you know.
It's all part of the path. And I think that sometimes we see these things as in the way, right? Or, like as boulders that we have to remove in order to be happy again. But, this is all part of it. It's part of the path. And we have to kind of just switch the way we see things and say, okay, like now this. I mean, those are my favorite two words. I mean, that's the mind of equanimity that wakes up, and maybe you're feeling anxious and you're worrying about money. Okay, now this. I mean, this is just what's presenting itself in my life in this moment, and this is what I have to work with, right? And I can get mad at myself for thinking that, even though I'm not in control of what, it's not like I wake up saying, oh, I can't wait to obsess about this problem I can't control. You just wake up and there's the obsessing mind. There's the thoughts stirring around. Okay, now this, and when you say this is it, it almost sounds like it's a conclusion, like, or a metaphysical truth that is a permanent thing. But as you know, and as we can clearly see, this is it is always changing. So there's not one it. It's always a flow. It's always a movement. So even this coronavirus thing, yeah, it might be a couple months, it might be a couple more weeks, it might be the rest of the year. But at some point, we're going to really look back and say, oh my gosh, remember 2020, the coronavirus, when we had to stay home and be quarantined. So this too shall pass, but now this, right? So we kind of have to like walk that line of being fully present, but also understanding that what is present is not here forever. So we can relax anyway. And I'm not saying like, people are dying and people are losing jobs and there's devastation happening. It's not just like all is good. It's just having a mind of equanimity. Who do I want to be in this chaos, and how can I help? There's just a different way of framing it.
Yeah, who do you want to be in this chaos, and how do you want to be in this chaos? And what about washing your hands mindfully? Because there's so much hand washing. Now it's a distinction. Hand wringing, you watch enough of the news, you can make yourself nuts, and it's actually appropriate to be scared, I think, now to a certain extent, because it's scary times.
Right.
But how do you be scared mindfully, or how do you be present and not go down the wormhole and wash your hands a million times, but try to do it mindfully? What's your tip for that?
Well, I've definitely had my fair share of fears arising with this. I have 3 children under 5, so that's scary, and I'm out working, so it's like, am I going to bring home something that may harm my family? Or, am I going to be in the hospital because I get something? And, I think really coming back to what we were talking about, this is it. All right. So right now, what's actually happening? And you can even ask like these 2 questions. I think it was a teacher named Ezra Beta who I heard this from. The first one is, what's happening in this moment? That's the first question. And then you come into that. Okay, there's fear, there's worry about finances, but I'm also sitting in my dining room and I hear the dishwasher on, and my knee's a little achy and my breathing is at a normal rate, and there's more happening. So on the first level, it's bringing yourself into the moment, and then the next question is, what's my practice here? Okay, so if fears are rising, well, what's my practice? Like, how do I work with this? And for me, it's giving it enough space for it to express itself, right? So I always kind of say, like, switching from subjective to objective, right? Like normally the fear is who I am and I act from it and I speak from it, but we can have that little shift where this fear is just an object in my awareness rather than the fear is who I am in this moment. It's a very subtle shift, but it's a very, very profound and big shift at the same time. And really just seeing it as just a mental reaction or a flare up, and going deeply into the feeling itself. And that's where I find the freedom, is just going directly to that feeling, and like just being, holding it in loving awareness, basically, like just giving it this warm attention. You can be here. Yes, this is scary. And just really feel the tightness or the heaviness in the stomach. And I find that when you turn towards it like that, it tends to, dissipate a little quicker. So this way I don't get lost in the stories about it. And that's a skill you have to learn. That's why you have to do meditation. You have to learn to be able to see thoughts arising and let them go. Because how do you expect to stay with the feeling itself if you've never done any training in letting go of thoughts, right? You'll just get swept away. The thought train brings you to Fearville, and you just go, and that's it. And you're there. You could spend all day there, and that's not reality. And a lot of the fear is fear of what will happen next. It's never a present, unless there's like a bear in front of you, or, there are times when fear is very present and visceral like that. But a lot of the times it's things that might happen and trying to prepare for that, or worrying about that. So like I said, coming back, what is this moment? Okay, I'm here, and, I'm sitting at my house and fear is arising. What's my practice? Well, give it some attention, and open up to it, and be willing to feel the unpleasantness of the emotion itself, and become curious about it. How long does it last? And, what does it feel like? And does it move? Does it change? And what if you set a timer for 20 minutes and just allowed it to be there? What would that be like, to be willing to look?
So now we're going into our next little phase where Mark is going to lead us in teach us and lead us in a little practice.
Sure. So, during this time, there's going to be a lot of different emotions coming up: fears, restlessness from being quarantined, anxiety, maybe some depression if you're a social person, and, staying home can be depressing sometimes. So you're going to be dealing with a lot of stuff. And I have this really short and sweet 3-part meditation that you can do anytime, anywhere. It doesn't have to be formal. Like, you don't have to get your zafu, which is the fancy word for the meditation cushion. But you can just do it anywhere. Whenever you feel this stuff, we can do it. So basically, the first part is bringing the hand to the heart, right? So you wake up and you feel really anxious about, your financial situation, or maybe someone is sick and you're nervous about them. So the step one is coming into that present moment. So hand to the heart is just a way to really, center yourself, and it's kind of comforting as well. And you just see what's going on in the body and mind, right? You just check in, right? What is happening in this moment? Right? Am I tense? If you're tense, maybe you soften a little bit, right? Anxiety is uncomfortable enough. We don't need to add the tension on top of it. So softening, maybe taking a few breaths, but being willing to feel whatever is there to be felt. And yes, there's going to be thoughts, but you can just kind of let them go to the side and try to get really visceral with it, really to the somatic experience of what you're feeling. That's step one: willing to feel afraid, willing to feel anxious, willing to feel angry or confused or lost, just for a few breaths. And then the next phase is just kind of just saying to yourself that this is hard, right? It's not like, screw this anxiety, I hate it. That's not a judgment, but it is an honest acknowledgement that, hey, when I feel this way, I really struggle. Or, this whole coronavirus thing, I'm really struggling, and I'm really, getting upset about it. So you're validating yourself. You're saying, okay, I feel this, and this is, this is difficult for me, right? And then the third part I find to be the most powerful It's when you take what you're feeling and you realize that there's about at least a million other people, if not more, in the entire world feeling this way in this very moment. And you kind of shift from I'm suffering, like that poor me, the victim, this is personal attack on my life, to there is suffering. This is, it's more expansive. This happens, right? If it's happening in your life in this moment, it's part of life. And this does happen, and it stinks, and it's uncomfortable, and it's scary, but we're all going through it. And so this last part is sending out a wish of relief. May myself and may everyone who's feeling the anxiety of this pandemic find ease, find health, find joy, whatever it is that your heart is, wanting in that moment, you send not only to yourself, but to everyone else. So rather than just the anxiety or fear arising and you get lost in it, or you get caught in your unskillful or unwholesome reactions to it, trying to run away, lashing out, numbing out, whatever your particular path might be, you're instead creating this whole new relationship to it. You're changing the neural pathways, with how you relate to it, and you're cultivating compassion on top of it, So you're really working with the mind that is receiving that anxiety, that fear, that depression. And, this is what's in our control, right? We can't really do much. I mean, we can quarantine, but this virus is going to do what it's going to do. And the leaders in charge are going to make the decisions that they want to make. And, this is just how it is. But what we can do is start to cultivate that mind of compassion, that mind of wisdom, and really get to know fear and what it does, and more importantly, what we do when it arises, and maybe not do those unskillful, unwholesome things, and try doing this simple exercise, pausing, breathing, relaxing, feeling whatever's there, like those 3 breaths or that 1 minute. You're just literally letting things be as they are. It's unconditional friendliness to this moment, or radical acceptance, to steal, Tara Brach's word or saying. So you're coming into the moment and letting it be that way. A lot of our suffering is just the extra struggle, the extra tension on top of what we're feeling. So this is just saying, okay, this is unpleasant enough. Let me open to this. Let me explore it a little bit. And then that second part, again, is, okay, when this arises, I struggle with this, or this is really hard for me right now. Just an honest acknowledgement. And then again, you're ending with that, may all beings who are feeling fearful be at ease. May all beings who are sick, be healthy. Again, whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever reassurance or healing you're looking for, you kind of put out a wish. That can just be a wish of loving kindness. If you, have a certain person you pray to, it can be directed towards that. If it's God, God, I mean, may you, help us all during these times. May you free us from suffering. You can take this, any way you want. It's not limited to a certain belief system or non-belief system. It's just a practical, easy practice that can really transform your relationship to the difficult stuff that might be arising right now.
Tell us a little bit about your book, and then maybe lead us in a meditation, and this could be the end of our little intro thing.
All right. Well, so my book originally was called Be Your Shitty Self. And, we're from a culture that is like all about self-help, and especially when you start getting into this work, we look at ourselves as this complete mess that needs to be fixed, that we're this big problem that we have to solve, and spiritual practice or meditation or whatever is going to, help us, and we're going to get it all together, and things are, we live in that mythology of happy endings, right? That things are all going to come together and it's going to be great, and we're going to live happily ever after, and everything's going to be good. But my original idea with the book was to kind of turn that on its head and say, listen, what you have is enough. You're so quick to run away from what's here without ever fully exploring it, and we're like, I say we're like a fish searching for the great ocean, and swimming around. Meanwhile, you're in it, and the trying to find it. Or like a rich man sitting on a bucket of money. I'm sorry, I mean a poor man. That wouldn't make sense. A rich man, a poor man sitting on a bucket of money, and what's here now is enough for us to understand our human condition, to relate differently and more wisely to it, and to use what we're experiencing, the good and the bad, as a way to cultivate some understanding and compassion. So, be your shitty self doesn't mean go be an asshole, every day, but it's saying like who you are is enough. And we don't have to fix it. We don't have to become better. We can just go deeper into what we truly are, or put another way, we can let go of what we're not, and we can keep seeing, what we're not, until we finally realize what we really are deep down underneath all of the neuroses and underneath all of the moods and the emotions. But you really need to do the meditation practice for that to be possible, so that you can get yourself quiet enough, so that you can learn to rest in that still point that you really already are. So it's not like you meditate to attain something. You meditate to remember, right, who you already are, what's already there. So you don't have to go crazy trying to attain a better you. You just need to let go into what's here. And all you have is this, like we spoke about before. This is it. The person you are, the body you have, the mind you have, the things that have happened to you, the neurotic habitual patterns of mind that are unique to you. That's what you have, and that it's all workable. And that's like the promise of this, is it's all workable, and you can find ease anyway. That's why I like the metaphor of the lotus flower, because it blooms right in the middle of dirty, mucky water. It's not like, let's clean the water first so this beautiful flower can come. No, right there, smack in the middle of the disgusting, smelly water, this beautiful flower arises. And that's the metaphor of our practice, right in the
And that's
middle.
also, I'm sorry to disrupt you, but that's also the metaphor for the times being in Corona. I
Right.
think, it's all one big muck. God willing, we all stay safe and healthy. But maybe that's a good kind of a good notion to lead us in a meditation. Like, how do we find that lotus flower in this insanity going on?
And to be, and we have to watch, because we don't want it to be this new agey, like you have to feel good, or, like you have people that are thanking the coronavirus. Like, people are dying. Like, no, we're not, I don't think we should be saying thank you, because there are people who lost their jobs. And I get I get what they're trying to do when they're saying that, but there's real suffering going on. And, this lotus flower does not mean that you're going to feel good all the time, that life's going to go your way. It's more of, kind of just resting in what I kind of call the movie screen. If you think of a movie being played on a screen, like maybe there's a sad scene, maybe there's a happy scene, maybe there's a painful scene, or a violent scene. But underneath all that is the movie screen, right? And the movie screen's not affected by the different lights and colors and scenes that are arising on it, but it's that which allows that to even happen. So we have this awareness, this consciousness that is much like the movie screen. We play the role of Mark, of Steve, and we get involved in the drama, but we can't forget the screen, because then all that is there is the drama, and we can get so sucked in, and the world can seem so small and frightening. So we kind of have to just take a step back. And then maybe that'll be our short meditation today. Just a little intro is just stepping back and pausing, right? The practice of pausing and allowing, without trying to fix it, without thinking it's a problem, but just saying, okay, now this. Again, those are I have a lot of sayings that I like. That's one of them. Again, that's the mind of equanimity. Now this. right? Okay, maybe it's a moment of unease, or a moment of sadness or grief, a moment of fear, a moment of loss, losing a job. Okay, but let's just try for a minute, right, to just see what happens when we put everything down, right? And we just pause. So I think we can just give that a shot, and then we'll let people go back to their, maybe go back to sleep.
Sounds good.
So, so basically, you don't have to do anything special. So just find a place to sit. You know, I'm sitting in a chair. I think you are as well. Sit on the couch, on your bed, doesn't matter. Take your hands on your knees or in your lap. And try to sit up tall, right? If you get too comfortable, your mind gets hazy. And just imagine your awareness like a mirror. And as you know, a mirror just simply reflects what's put in front of it. It doesn't try to push anything away. It doesn't try to hold on. It just gives a clear reflection. And for a moment, see what it's like to just hold this moment as it is. Whatever flavor it might be. Maybe it's not a pleasant moment. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Life includes that sometimes. Maybe your mind is busy. Fine. Not a problem. Busy mind. Good to see you. You can be here too. Or you can allow your body to soften. Allow your breathing to deepen. And just allow the sounds, allow the thoughts, allow the sensations, the feelings, the mood. I try to embody those words. Now this, okay. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. No one to impress. You don't have to wear any mask right now. But most importantly, no struggle. You're not fighting anything. You're not at war with anything that's happening. Just saying, you can be here too. Okay. I can hold you too. And all together, why don't we just take one deep breath in the nose, out the mouth. And when you're ready, slowly opening the eyes. All right, so how do you feel?
That was good. That was helpful. You know, it. I don't know if I made time to really take time today. So that was breath of fresh air.
And it's, it's the same life that started with, the moment with, and you can find ease. Like, ease is possible for us. And that's, I guess, the hope and the promise that we can be at ease, but we have to understand what ease means, right? That it doesn't mean we're going to feel good every time we do it. Doesn't mean things that are scary or bad still cannot happen in our lives magically. It's just saying you can just pause and just put it down for a moment, and just allow yourself to be at ease for a moment. And then you're more focused, you're more centered, you're in a clearer space to, how am I going to work with this now,
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Mark, and we'll see you next time. Next
Great.
week, maybe.
Thank you. Yes.
That was excellent. Thanks so much. Good night.